Next, we will turn to Attorney Clay Zhu. Attorney Zhu is one of the leading attorneys for the lawsuit which is filed against SB264. He specializes in cross-border litigation, international merger and acquisitions. He is among the few Chinese attorneys admitted to the U.S. Supreme Court. He has served as a senior legal counsel to the World Bank and the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization on projects in China. Attorney Zhu has in-depth knowledge of the bill and will welcome his analysis today. Attorney Zhu, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Echo. Today, we don't have time to really do a full legal analysis of the law, but I just want to focus on one thing. Let's assume the validity of SB 264. How do an average person comply with it? There are many practical difficulties for people to figure out what is prohibited and what is not. So given the time constraints, I will talk about two today. Difficulty number one, who is subject to the law? The law says anyone who is domiciled in a foreign country of concern. But the definition of domicile is subject to conflicting interpretation under Florida law. Even the US District Court and the state could not agree on the same meaning when the motion for preliminary injunction was heard 2 months ago. Make it more confusing, the US immigration law does not allow any non-immigrant visa holders to be domiciled in the US. That would violate their non-immigrant visa status. If someone signs an affidavit saying, I am domiciled in Florida, and the next day, the immigration authorities could come over and revoke and deport him. So that's the danger, and that's the risk a lot of our Asian communities are facing. Difficulty number two, what areas are exactly covered by the law? There are two major concepts we're talking about here. One is critical infrastructure. We retained a geographic information system expert to figure out and identify and create an inventory of all the critical infrastructure in Florida. And under the law, we have 10 types of critical infrastructure. Here, we only identified 5 types of them. Those are the most ones. As you can see, there are a lot of them. And then our GIS expert produced maps to show the exact impact of this law. Here's what we have. If we identify and list all the critical infrastructure and then put a 10-mile radius, all the blue circle covered area are exclusion zones under the SB 264. The second concept is military installation. And it is defined by the law to show that a military base that at least 10 acres large. That is a very difficult concept for average person to figure out because we just don't have the information about the size of any military base. If you just check the Google map, you can see a military base, but you don't know how large it is. And sometimes Google Map does not really identify the exact boundaries of the military base. Our GIS experts have identified 74 military installations in Florida that are at least 10 acres large. And then we mapped out the areas of 5-mile and 10-mile radius of all military installations. As you can see, Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, a lot of major cities are covered by the exclusion zone. And if we combine both maps, the 10-mile radius of all critical infrastructure, plus a 5-mile radius of all military installations, plus all conservation land. That includes national parks, state parks, natural preserves. All the red covered areas are impacted by SB 264.
Wow.
As you can see from the map, it's pretty much the entire Florida. So the bottom line here is there is no way for ordinary people to figure out who and what properties are targeted by the law. This is a affidavit developed by the Realtors Association in Florida. And this affidavit does not really help ordinary people at all, because it shifts the entire burden of compliance to the buyer to make sure that he or she has complied with SB 264. I have received many inquiries from friends in Florida and asking me whether or not to sign this affidavit. As a lawyer with more than 20 years of experience in the United States, I'm having trouble figuring out if someone can legally sign this affidavit and can legally buy a property without the exposure of criminal penalties. This affidavit basically asks the prospective buyer to declare under oath, saying, I'm either not a foreign principal that's defined by the law, or I'm a foreign principal, but I'm subject to certain exceptions so that I'm in compliance with the law. As I said, this is a very high burden for prospective buyers to overcome, and their risk of criminal penalties. So what are the consequences? I can at least say 3. Honest mistakes can lead to felony charges. This law does not require any mental state to commit a crime. I would say, as a lawyer, I can tell you 99% of all crimes require a mental state, a intention to commit a criminal activity. This law does not require it. An honest mistake can lead to felony charges. This is serious stuff. People can get jailed, people will get deported for this. The second consequence is the ambiguous scope of the law will result in broad discretion by the prosecutors, unlikely arbitrary enforcement. So the chilling effect will be widespread. And this is what we are facing here in Florida. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Clay. That is so powerful. Clay, can you please leave the share the map on the screen so everybody can please leave it there on the screen. So share the screen so we can all see where we will be left to buy the house.